I'd like to show you why knowing your why is the start of your journey. Without a strong why, it can be so difficult to reach your maximum potential. My name is Dr. Jason Balara, and every week I meet with real estate investors and mindset specialists that are taking action in order to build a life according to their own terms. We will break down what drives successful people and allows them to achieve at such a high level. If you are a professional wanting to break through, or simply someone that wants to hear an inspiring story, the Know Your Why podcast is made for you. Hi everyone, I'm Jason Balara. We're on the Know Your Why podcast, and I'm here with Edina Mahieux. I'm probably not saying that exactly right, but she's here to kind of tell us a little bit about her story and where things are headed for you in your life. But we got a chance to talk last week, and I felt your story was very inspirational. So I'd love it if you don't mind repeating some of that so that our listeners can get an idea, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Sounds good. So hey everyone, my name is Edina Mahieux, and I know everyone butchers it, so I always say this story, but when we get married, I get my husband's name, obviously his French name, and I said, for the better and the worse, I took his name. So the worst is checked, so from here on everything has to be for the better, right?
Can only go up. Yeah.
Because now it's like no one can pronounce my name anymore. So,
yeah.
But I'm excited to be here. I'm super passionate about sharing my why because I feel it's so important, especially when you decide to pivot from something you thought it was your path. And my life was very straightforward until I came to the United States. I was good at school. I studied. I always knew that in order to have a nice salary, like I have to study, get, the highest degree possible and get a good job. And that was pretty much my life about. I, get my master in chemistry. I moved to Switzerland where I get my PhD. I moved to the United States to become a postdoctoral fellow at UC Davis, where I met my French husband. And then, I was scientist in a biotech company where I was for 5 years until I got pregnant with my first one. And that's when everything started to scramble a little bit for me. Like, okay, what do I want in this life? I saw people who were in this path, and I knew if I want to increase my salary and, get all the things that we are, we get a PhD because we want to become a managers and da. And then I think the first aha moment was when I was towards the end of my pregnancy, and it's saying, you have 12 weeks with your baby, good luck. And in Hungary, it's going back and forth 2 to 3 years of maternity leave. So by definition, just by, my education and my culture, like this was a huge shock. Like, excuse me, what did you say? And
Right.
I'm, of course, I knew it. It just, like then it hit, like, what does this really mean? And I tried to negotiate a year of non-paid leave, which I did not get. So I ended up quitting my job. And then, life happened. I truly thought I would just take a break for a year, and then I tried to go either back to my job or, look for something else within the field. And then life happened. I don't want to go into all the details, but pretty much I ended up 4 years after my son was born, and I was still home with my second child at the time. And I actually started to apply. I started to feel at sea. I started to feel that I need something else. I love to be with my children, but and if any of you who is listening are moms, you know that mother life is a never-ending project. It's like, when I was a scientist, I had the to-do list and I was checking off like, okay, done. And when you're a mom who is at home with the children, it's like laundry, done, not done. Like by the time you fold everything, it's over. You can start over again. It just happened last week, actually. I did the laundry while the kids were in farm school and they came home drenching in mud. It's like, okay, I guess laundry again. And then, it's the same with everything. The cleaning the house and doing the dishes. And I started to feel like, okay, what am I doing? Like, where is my checklist? Where is my accomplishment?
Yeah.
So I was planning to go back. I applied for a job. It didn't turn out. It reminded me why I left at the first place, how being a mom and being, a high level professional is not clashing very well. And that's when I stumbled upon the opportunity that I'm doing right now, which is in direct sales. And then eventually it led us to do real estate investment.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, when we talked about this, but the kid introducing the child into your what seems like it's a sort of perfect life that's going exactly like you were taught it should go, and you're kind of climbing the ladder and achieving and all of this, and then the kids just kind of it's and I'm not saying that they make it worse. I think that actually, like, it's very eye-opening. It's very sort of revealing as to maybe making the most money or getting the highest position in whatever your field is, maybe that's not all there is. And so sort of have to rethink it. But I do still think, as you just mentioned, your experience of just being like, I do want something that I'm accomplishing and continuing to growing outside of raising tiny humans. And I think my wife's going to listen to your story there and I think, relate very much, because she's a veterinary technician. That's how we met, and she was very good at her job. Worked a lot, worked for me, and then we had our son, and it's kind of like she was just home with him all the time. And I think she definitely struggled with that, that difference. So I'm sure that will resonate with a lot of moms out there. Go ahead.
Sorry, it's interesting. I was actually in a book club. I am in a book club, and it just came up, like, it's not about motherhood, but it just came up how difficult it is for moms, especially and I'm sure that has the same kind of, like, struggle, but to be a mom and being successful. And there is so much, like, right now I reached a level in my business where I have 150 people in my team, and it requires more time. And I thought, I'm doing this because I can still be a full-time mom, and I have to accept that I'm fooling myself. You cannot have, a really successful business and be a full-time mom and be all the other things. And it's, it's really putting in question, like, what is important, and what can I let go, and what can I just be okay with, that, maybe being 24/7 mom is not necessarily what you have to do to become, or be a good mom.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's actually a really great point. I mean, I think the answer is you don't have to be a 24/7 mom to be a great mom. Like, I think that there's a balance to it, and I think it's very different. But as a father, it's a similar thing. It's like, okay, I want to be a good dad. I want to spend time with my kid. Almost kids. We're about to have another, but you want to spend that time, but also want it to be like quality time. And on the flip side is you need to provide for them, and they need a place to live, and they need food and all of that. So I think that's a common parenthood struggle, which I think sort of segues well into so I would say, when you were provided this opportunity by your former employer to stop working for them, because I'm sure it was their loss, you sort of have turned that around, and now do you want to talk a little bit about sort of what you are doing? I know you said direct sales and real estate, but do you want to go in a little bit more detail on sort of, again, I know a little bit, but I feel like you've become bigger in terms of what you're accomplishing than even you were in that position.
Yeah, so I was one of them, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners will be like, they hear direct sales and they run in the other direction, which was totally like me. Like, I never ever thought, like, even if you asked me 2 weeks before I joined this company that I'm gonna do direct sales, I would say you lost your mind. Like, it was never on my radar. It was never anything I considered. I didn't even know anything about it. It's truly just and I don't know, if anyone will see the actual video, but I have these nail products. I tried as a chemist, I was blown away. I know not the story, of course, of the person who developed, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is what every single mom needs in their life, because I was neglecting my needs in terms of self-care. Like I did not like before when I was working, we were married, but I did not have kids. So I was taking care of myself. I went shopping. I went to get my manicure. And then when my children were born, I felt uncomfortable spending money that I didn't earn anymore, like giving up, even though, we made that decision as a couple, I still felt like I'm not bringing in that salary anymore. I don't have the right to spend, which is very, if you're listening to this, like, this is wrong. Like,
Yeah.
this is so not true, and you should. And self-care is so important for mamas. If you are not taking care of yourself, you cannot take care of the rest of your family.
Absolutely.
And I also felt, so it was part of them was money. The other, like when my husband comes home from work and he's tired, and tell him that, okay, now I'm heading out to the salon, bye.
Yeah.
So for me, and the other, I just felt it was a waste of my time, like sitting there for 2 hours, and I can't even like message my friends on the phone. I'd rather ask my husband to watch my kids for 2 hours and have a brunch with a friend so we can connect than sitting there, with my hands like tied up. So long story short, when I discovered this, that, oh my gosh, I can have a manicure in 10 minutes, like I felt, holy cow, like this is, the best thing since sliced bread. And I was super passionate about sharing this because everyone I introduced, they loved it, and they were like, wow. And it's 10 minutes that gives me 2 weeks of happiness. Like literally, I'm typing on my computer, I'm happy looking at my beautiful manicure.
Sure.
So, and I think, like we don't realize how important is it to take care of ourselves until we do. And it's like, wow, like I needed this in my life, I need to put a little bit of effort, whether it's putting on your makeup or just dress up nicely, even if you're just at home all day. I see a lot of moms, especially during COVID, like I don't do anything and then they are depressed. I truly believe this is a part of it. Like you still have to maintain, whatever makes you happy. And, if it's not makeup, whatever, but just, like doing your yoga, or having that bath, or whatever it looks like for you. So that's how I ended up joining my company. And because I started to believe in it and I saw the value I'm providing with it, I was more confident. I started to build a team, and I believe now I'm like 0.6% in the company. And I just really enjoy, and I really enjoy helping these women who are in my team. And what even more important, the growth that I see in myself and in all those ladies who are giving it a shot to work on themselves, because it's so easy to say it's not working, I cannot do, and just quit, versus thinking what's going on in my head that blocks me to get to that next level. And it's entrepreneurship. It doesn't matter if it's direct sales, if it's real estate. When you do any type of entrepreneurship, it happens in your mind 90%, whether you believe, and you can work on those limiting beliefs.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think the what I've noticed is that it's almost funny. I mean, I think I've become a huge sort of component of mindset and really, or proponent, I guess, of mindset, and realizing that you can change how you react to things, and emotions are emotions, but you can actually do something with them and sort of I don't know, the control is the best word, but you can control your reactions to them. And so I think I probably not too long ago would have been like, oh, that mindset stuff's kind of silly. And now it's like, once you realize what it can do for you, it's really amazingly freeing. And now I'm just like, I love listening to people talk about, these sort of transformations, and they're just the way you look at things differently. And, like you're saying, your self-care is incredibly important as a mom, a, people being stuck home in COVID, whatever it is, like whatever your thing is to kind of take care of yourself, because it'll make you a better person, it'll make you a better parent, it'll make you a better friend, spouse, whatever the, whatever the relationships are, if you've got something for yourself too. So it's really, I think, very special to hear, sort of hear people make that shift. And now, not only have you made that shift in yourself, you're leading a tremendously successful company. And it's like just what that mindset change allowed you to do, really, I think is pretty impressive. So tell me a little bit about how that, sort of ties into real estate for you. And I know you and your husband are sort of, working on investing together. So how did that, all of this shift tie into real estate for you in terms of mindset and also, not working for someone else?
Yeah, so we still don't really know where it all started. Like when we moved from California to Texas, we actually, like, pretty much it was pure luck. We'd never calculated it. We were at the right place at the right time when we bought our house in California. It just happened that the market crashed and we both finally get a stable job, and we were able to put the money down and get a house for,
Right.
a low price, which we, like 6 months earlier, we were looking at these houses, this exactly houses, thinking we are never gonna be able to afford buying a house here.
Yeah.
We were looking at these, model homes, kind of dreaming about and knowing like big parents, it's like, again, what you think and what is your reality. I think it just comes in, like, we were 100% convinced it's not an option for us. And actually my mom used to say that, well, if you cannot afford, you forget about it. And now I want to teach my kids that if something is not possible, you don't say, okay, so I'm not doing it. It's what can I do to make this a reality for me?
Yeah, exactly.
So, again, going back to mindset and what are thoughts and reality and what is the gap in between, I think it's so important. So this house that we can never buy 6 months later was ours. And we moved to Texas because my husband got a job here. We saw the house on the top of the market. I guess it's still increasing, but when it's recovered really well, came here and we almost built a pool with the leftover money, but we backed out and decided to buy a second home that we are renting out. And I think that's where it really started to, the true thought process, not just falling into, but like, okay, let's think about this. And what are the opportunities here? And I think my husband seeing me going from, corporate job to being my own boss, being successful, still being with my children, especially COVID, it was a huge thing. But even before, like, I never had to miss any of those classes, when they had Thanksgiving lunch, or, often my husband came last minute, or, he missed the first second. It's like, oh, they just passed in the carnival or whatever it was.
Right.
So I think it was a little bit of an eye-opening for, okay, this is freedom. This is when I'm my own boss. I still have to work, of course, but I decide when I'm my own boss, versus you go to a 9 to 5 and someone decided for you. So I think that all those things kind of, just like snowballed and came together that, okay, what are we gonna do about this, and started to do real estate. We joined Jake and Gino, the Wheelbarrow Profit. It's a multi-family real estate, like an academy. Last year, we have amazing coaches, and looking at this, my husband is really good about working, like networking. And right now we are in 2 deals. One of them is a mixed use in Nashville, where we are limited partners, and then we are KPs in another deal just south of Dallas. So it's slowly picking up. We always say that it's not, like, I think most entrepreneurship, like most business model, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You have to, you cannot just accept that, okay, you decided tomorrow you are rich. That's not how it works, unless you win the lottery, but then probably you lose that money. I guess that's what they
You won't
say.
know how to handle it.
Yeah. So, and I think it's good that you have to work for it. So you appreciate when you have that success
Mhm,
at the end.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, a couple really good points there. I think to highlight one, you talked about how you left a corporate job or a W-2 job. You're still working a lot, right? So I think sometimes people think that entrepreneurship or real estate investors or whatever aren't you're doing it to not work. It's not doing it to not work. You might actually work more. It's doing it on your terms, right? So it's you don't
Yeah.
have to be there when someone else tells you you have to be there, and your results are directly tied to how much of an work hustle you're going to put into it versus whatever the structure is that your W-2 job is under. And so it's not about necessarily working less. It's about sort of enjoying what you're doing and having control of your time, so you can go to those events, your children's classes and recitals and things like that. I think that's very important. And then the second thing that I thought was great about what you said is that sort of, I think people also look at real estate investors as this was a get rich quick thing, because usually you don't know about them until they're like Grant Cardone and they're just someone who's all over the place, and that he's a billionaire and he has his own plane, because it's like that. But what you don't know is it took him 25, 30 years to get there, of sort of constant hard work and things like that. So it's just I think the perception of what's sort of what's involved in real estate investing isn't always, until you get into it. Entrepreneurship, real estate, but whatever it is, until you really get into it, maybe people don't actually know kind of what it is. And so it is a very different mindset than just going to your job every day and punch in a clock and you get benefits from someone else. What all of that stuff is kind of just spelled out for you. So it is a different approach, but it's and maybe it's not for everybody, but it's worth it. Yeah, I think it just seems, the more you do, and you said you were an LP in one deal, which for people who don't know, there's sort of two sides of syndication. There's limited partnership, who are basically at a basic level the investors, right? They're just giving in money and getting a return on that money, but you don't have to do any of the work. On the opposite side of it is the general partnership, and within that general partnership, you have well, you said your KPs. So key principal is basically someone who, probably again at a basic level, is able to sign on the loan at some point, in terms of having net worth or liquidity for the particular loan for whatever asset you're getting into.
Yeah,
If
you have more saying. Yeah. So
Yeah,
we are pretty much part of the deal, like we are on the meetings, we know what's going on with the
yeah,
when you're limited partners, pretty much you trust whoever invested, you give them the money, they make the decision for you, get the distribution. When you are KP or GP or JV, which is joint venture, it's like you are part of the deal and you have saying, and you are on those weekly meetings and see where this business is going, and what are things if you need to pivot. So it gives you more hands-on. It's nice if you have the time, energy, and willingness to put that effort in it. If you just have money and you want to be hands off, I just want someone to make this money work for me, then the LP is a great option. If you
oh
love
yeah,
your job and you just want to make that money grow faster for you,
yeah,
then the
yeah,
limited partner is actually an amazing opportunity.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, being I hope I didn't present that as if the general partnership is better than the limited partnership. It's just different. And I think it's being a limited partner is a really great way to invest money, right? So people put money in the stock market, bonds, mutual funds, and whatever. A limited partnership, even though you may not have control over the deal, you're going to have good returns, tax benefits. I mean, there's so much to it that in a lot of ways can outweigh stock investing and things. I'm not someone to say that real estate's the only way to invest. I think that there's the idea is to just be knowledgeable in multiple ways of investing and then pick the one or the ones that are best for you. That's kind of, I think, what's lacking is people know about stock investing because you can get an app on your phone, download Robinhood and you can immediately buy stocks. It's a little bit,
most companies, that's what they offer. You have your 401k that's invested in
right.
stock market. That's where most people's retirement is,
Yeah.
invested in. So,
Yeah.
that's what people just pump all your money. But, now I feel like don't put all your eggs in the same basket. Like, I don't say you should put all your money into real estate or into diversifying. It's always a good option. Just making sure that you are not dependent on one type of asset.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with any of them. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with 401k. There's nothing inherently wrong with IRAs. Whatever you choose, you just need to know what the sort of pros and cons of each asset class are and what you're going to get out of it. I think if you just sort of blindly say, I'm putting my money as, maxing out my 401k every year because that's what I'm told to do. By the way, I've done this. That's not, I'm not saying this like, oh, I'm some smarty. I've messed all this up. And so, it's kind of, but if that's all you're doing, you're just basically looking for a point in your future that suddenly you'll have access to this money, and then you have to make it last until you die, right? I mean, that's kind of it. You're just trying to make it last until you die, and hopefully that you have enough money to get to that point, which is kind of a sad outlook on it. But I think when you really break it down, that's a little bit what, sort of the traditional investment in savings avenues are. It's like you're just trying to get to this point where you have enough money to live off of when you don't work anymore. Where I think in a entrepreneur standpoint and real estate investing, it's not just about cash flow, but you do have a cash flow component. And then you also have like those assets, if you hold them long term, are going to appreciate, like your house in California. Like there are other benefits to it where you don't have to, like those assets are likely to outlive you rather than you outliving your fixed set of saved money in some mutual fund. So maybe a little off topic, but it's but I think those are important things to for people to understand those options. So what do you think is next for you? What is your
so during this whole process, I think what we talked about mindset, like I'm super passionate and I'm a scientist. I'm very, I need to see, I'm doing the experiment. And even if I show with my experiment, I need to do that experiment 5 more times to prove that it's really, that's how a scientist mind works. So at the beginning, I was like, oh, affirmation, like whatever, like I don't say I didn't believe in it, but I just had a really hard time to give it all, like saying affirmation to myself. And I'm grateful. I have a coach right now who is like, okay, you are gonna tell me your affirmation, 5 affirmation every morning you wake up, you voxer me your 5 affirmation. It felt really weird at the beginning, but I see the transformation and how it brings up so much in me. And like all the blockage, like why am I not able to, I just posted about this on Instagram, about how no matter what you do as an entrepreneur, you will have a time when you kind of hit that glass ceiling where you feel like, you're already successful, that there is still another level above that, and you just can't get there. Like you do still the same thing, you still do the grind, you still work, but it's just not happening. And I'm just discovering it myself right now, like those limiting beliefs that kind of sets your limit, and like that's how much I can do. And we don't reach our highest potential again because of what's in our mind. So I discovered during this whole 2 years of being an entrepreneur that I'm an introvert, even though I'm doing my lives and people think, oh, you're outgoing. Like I drew my energy. Even as a mom, I had difficulty with that. Like being a 24/7 mom, it's like I need some space, and then you feel guilty about it. And I'm working on it, accepting that it's okay to say that, no, I don't want to go for a walk with the family because I need a little bit of quiet today. So I am actually putting a lot of effort right now to even just discover myself and learn about it, so I can help other introverts when they decide to go to the business round, being an entrepreneur and helping them how to be successful if you feel you don't have, you don't have the energy to cold message 1,000 people a day. I know some people just can, no problem. It doesn't drain their energy. I can't do that. I'm burned out. So I am working on making myself better so I can figure out those steps and those systems that I can put together after to help others do the same, kind of following my footstep and being successful in their business without feeling yucky, without feeling that, it's like, I can't do this anymore. Like, you reach a certain level and it took out so much of you because it wasn't aligned in with your personality or what you believe in. So I'm actually, this is kind of my goal for the next few months, to really work on this introverted business, entrepreneurship side of it. And especially, in direct sales, I feel like it's very, you have to be social and outgoing and having your network, which, by the way, every single real estate meeting, when we talk about how do you get those investors, how do you build connections, you have to have a team. You don't do everything on your own. Multifamily, you usually don't buy it on your own. Like, how do you build a team? How do you find those people you want to work with? And I feel like if I'm in a direct sales, training, or if I'm in a meeting with real estate, it's exactly the same thing. So for me, it was almost like an easy transition. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm learning, since I joined this company. It's the same things, it's the same steps. You just, apply it for, different end results, I guess. So I hope that I can help, within my team and even who are outside of my, direct business, help especially women and moms who are struggling with this. How can you make happen all this? How can you put all the pieces together? How can you run a successful business without feeling that you are burned out, that you're stretching yourself too much? And what are those steps that are important and necessary? How can you streamline them? So this is my next big project, I guess.
That sounds awesome. I think there's a huge need for that in the world too. So that'll be, I look forward to seeing what you do with that. I think that'll be, you're going to help a lot of moms. I think a lot of people may, I don't know. I know you're saying you're directing it for mothers and women. I'm kind of like, well, can I be a part of it too? I am also introverted, and I think, sometimes I think as introverts, you have to actually do things to pull you out of that comfort zone, because the world isn't always going to provide you opportunities if you don't put yourself out for them. And so to me, that's a big part of this podcast. Like, I love this one-on-one conversation. This stuff is awesome. I need to not think about that at some point other people are going to watch and, kind of not think about what that does in my head, and try and, again, mindset, getting some of those limiting beliefs out of the way. But I think that, having that program and how to help people deal with being introvert in a sales or entrepreneurial type world where relationships and networking are so important, I think it will be huge.
Yeah, I feel even, like, introverts are hugely misunderstood, because everyone says, oh, you are antisocial, or it's like, I love people. I love to chat with people. I love to meet new people. I don't like when there is a huge party. It's like, here you go. Good luck.
Right, yeah.
Like, I'm not comfortable
Figure
in that.
out everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. So, my husband goes in and like knows everyone's name in 5 seconds. And I'm like in the corner and waiting for someone to come. So I think there is a huge misconception. And I think that's what my biggest, I guess, mission is, to make introverts see that just because you are not that heart of the party doesn't mean you cannot be a successful entrepreneur. Right. You can find ways to make it happen within your limitation, it's not the right word, within, what you feel comfortable.
Right.
And you have to push yourself outside of your comfort zone, of course, to a certain extent, but does it feel like gross and like really like draining for you, or is it just like we have to do things that are outside of a comfort zone to get to our next level?
Right. Yeah. And putting, maybe this is cliche, but like putting those systems in place that allow you to get outside of your comfort zone too. If you're not extroverted and you're just, kind of those things, I think you providing a framework for people, like I said, I think it'll be very, very helpful. I think people will love it. So I look forward to seeing what you come up with. Well, I'd like to ask you probably just a few questions that are a bit, tailored to the podcast, but I think you've touched on some of this, but the name of the podcast is Know Your Why. And so the question, I guess, is what is your why? And I know you've touched on a few things that are important to you, but what really does sort of drive you to the success that you're achieving?
Definitely, family, and having the time deciding, how I want to spend that time, and not being dependent on someone else's decision. That was a huge thing for me. That's why I decided to quit my job. It would have been so much easier to go back and just, get my salary and not going through all these, difficulties that I faced when I decided to go a totally different route. And right now I'm trying to figure out how I can smash, like how to put in my mind at the right place that I can be a mom, and my business right now, I feel, it's not to be 24/7 with my children. It's to decide when I want to. And if they need me, like if the school calls me that, okay, your kids are sick, I don't have to feel like, oh my gosh, how am I going to finish, blah, blah, blah. Or, like what they are going to say that I'm missing again. Just having full control. I guess I'm a type A. I like to decide what's going on in my life. So for me, being my own boss, deciding, that's the true freedom. It's not having $1 million or 5 million or 10 million or whatever. It's having control of my life and what I want to do and how I want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's great. I think we have very similar driving forces in our lives. So is there something that you would like to share about yourself that you want people to know? I know, we talk about being introverted. Do you have hobbies? Do you have, guilty pleasure, something that you want to get out there in the world that that you think would help people know you better?
That's a good question. I was thinking recently, like, what is really my hobbies? I like, as an introvert, I really, if I can choose to go out or stay home with a book, and it sounds really like nerdy, but right now my passion is just learn as much as I can about mindset, about how to reach your highest level of whatever. And I believe everyone has a higher level of themselves than they are living. And just why are we settling with something that's okayish? And we talked about that last Friday when we chatted, that I feel that we reach a level of comfort in our life when it's not bad. Like, our life is good. We have everything we want, and we are okay with that, without trying to achieve that, what's above that. So for me, that's right now my passion, just have that much information and knowledge as I can to reach for myself, teach my kids, because I feel as a mom who is working on themselves, whatever you figure out about yourself, it's you pass it down to your children. And I hope that my children will grow up not having some of the struggles that we brought, because we had a different mindset growing up, and then helping others seeing their potential.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's there's no wrong answer to that question, by the way, but that was a very good answer. How can people reach you? What's the best way for people to get a hold of you? And we'll put whatever you want in the show notes too, but just so it's out there, how would you like to be contacted?
Yeah, so right now we are working on our website, both for are real estate and my personal website. I think right now the best, especially if you're interested in the introverted side, like I try to share as many nuggets of knowledge as I can on my Instagram page, which is
Yeah.
Life Niad. Uh, I just felt, because I started this whole process with the nail polish strips, like that's where the nail came from. And then I really felt that it was like leading to nailing my life,
Yeah.
having the best of the best life I can live. So I started, the last few months is mainly focusing on entrepreneurship mindset, introverts, and how to make this happen for you if you
Yeah.
feel that that's your personality trait. So right now that's the best. Hopefully I'm gonna have soon my website too.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I follow you, and it's your Instagram page is great. I mean, I don't have my nails done, but aside the other stuff I find very relevant. Okay, last question before we wrap it up. Is there anything that I can do or anyone listening can do to help you in terms of achieving these your goals, what you've got set for the future?
That's a good question. I really just would love if anyone feels that they are connected with what we have to offer, whether in terms of, real estate investment, if you want to know anything more about it, or my business. I feel like I love to share and know if you are a good fit, if we are a good fit. Like even if someone is in my team, I want to make sure that you feel comfortable that I'm that sponsor for you, who you can rely on, who can help you make this a successful business. I'm sure that a lot of people are looking opportunities right now. So my goal is always just to see if we are a right fit, because I think no matter what kind of partnership we are in, whether it's business or personal, you have to have that connection with that person. And I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I'm actually really just started to preach about it, like you are not chocolate, you cannot be loved by everyone. So I want to make sure that who is connected with me, my mission, and my vision, that you feel comfortable to reach out to see how can we connect, how can we help each other to reach our goals.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. This has been great. I really appreciate having you on and sort of sharing all that inspiration. So thank you, Edina, and thank you everyone who's listening. This will be, I'm sure, help a lot of people.
Thank you so much.